greatest for me these last couple of days. Weather hasn't been the best, you know. If you guys are living in the Joburg area, it's been raining consistently, and I haven't really been able to go out fishing. So I've actually decided, explanation for you guys, on my drop shot rod, I'll be going over rod, reel, line, sinkers, hooks, and everything to how I fish the drop shot. So I hope that you guys enjoy this video and stay tuned. Okay, so let's start off this video by showing you guys my setup. My preferred drop shot rod is always going to be a spinning setup. It's a medium light action rod. It's actually 7 foot and it's a fast action rod. This is actually a travel rod. That really didn't bother me because this rod has an awesome backbone and it's got great sensitivity. It's actually perfect for drop shot fishing around heavier cover. So when it comes to reel, I use a 5:2:1 gear ratio reel. Nice thing about having a slow gear ratio is that you can keep that bait moving in the fish's face for as long as possible without retrieving too much line. When it comes to the line that I put on the setup, as you guys can see, it's a yellow line. Reason why I have yellow line is because it's highly visible, and sometimes on the drop you want to actually see the line twitching on the way down. So the yellow is very visible, and I think it's just beneficial to have a high vis line. From a poundage perspective, this is a 15 pound, and what I actually do is with that 15 pound I actually pair it up with a 10 pound fluorocarbon leader. Sometimes I'll go down to an 8 pound fluorocarbon leader, depending on water clarity and also line pressure that the dam has. Okay, let's talk hooks. Hooks to me is a super important part to drop shotting. I generally throw a very small mosquito hook. I'll leave everything linked down below. I'm actually not too sure what the size is, but I think this is actually a 1.0 mosquito hook. It's actually a round bend hook. If you guys can see that, it's very small. And what I actually do with this hook is I actually just nose hook the bait, and that gives that bait a very natural presentation. I'm really impressed with this. You know, light wire, so you don't have to put that much of a hook set on the actual fish. Next hook that I actually throw, this is a straight shank. This is actually a Nico and Wacky rig hook, but I've actually started to, as you guys can see, I've actually been throwing this as a drop shot hook. So what I actually do is I feed the bait over the hook. As I'll actually rig it up like that, if you guys can see it. The shank of the hook actually goes right through the bait and the hook point comes out of it. So it gives it a little bit of a different presentation, and I don't know, it's just like I say, a different presentation to how everybody else is throwing it. So this also really does work. This hook, yet again, is a very thin gauge wire. So if you do get a bite and set the hook, you don't have to yank on the fish to get the hook into the fish's mouth. It's a subtle reel, and you will get that fish pinned. Okay, next hook that I throw, this is a very different way to actually fish a drop shot. I don't do this very often. You know, I try and keep it as natural as possible and try and give that bait as much action. So I'll do it when I'm fishing heavier cover, and that is a 1.0 EWG hook. It's a very small hook and it's got a very light wire. As you guys can see, I can literally flex that with my fingers. Yeah, so this EWG hook I'll throw in heavier cover. So I'll throw this mainly around brush, so my bait doesn't get hooked up and I'm not constantly breaking off. So what I do is I'll just expose the hook. So I'll just put the tip of the hook into the bait, and all I do is a subtle reel or even a very subtle hook set with my drag, not wide open but not tight so I don't snap off my line. Okay, let's talk weights. So for me personally, I'll fish a lot of lighter weights. This is a very light weight. I actually don't know what the size is, but I think this is the smallest drop shot lead that you can actually get. I only throw lead weights. I know that lead weights are very uneco-friendly because it pollutes the water because of the lead, but tungsten is just super expensive, and yeah, you lose these a lot. As you guys can see, it's got that long crimp at the top. If you do get snagged, usually it's your weight that gets snagged in the bottom of the dam, and all you really pop the line out of the line crimp, and you don't lose half your rig. All you do is you lose this weight, which is cheap. So the lightweight, I'll generally throw it in shallower water or in very calm conditions, so not that much wind. Then I've got a heavier drop shot weight. It's also a lead weight. It's also got the line crimp. As I said, you lose these a lot, but this is a heavier weight. What I do with the heavier weight is I'll fish deeper water and more windier conditions. This works perfectly for those situations. So when it comes to baits, you can be really creative with this. You can literally put anything onto a drop shot, whatever you feel comfortable with, but like I say, you can be creative. You can throw a little TRD. These work really well. They have very little action and they're very compact. They have that elastic material, so they fairly inexpensive to lose, because if you do hook into a couple fish, you will have this thing for the whole session. So it's only if you break it off that you will lose it. But if you're lucky and you catch a carp fish, you will never lose this guy. Another thing that I throw, as you guys can see, this is a very small presentation. It's absolutely tiny, minnow styled bait, and this is also a Z-Man product, so it's got that elastic material. I actually do really enjoy throwing these because they are buoyant in the water. They actually sit like this in the water column, and these work really well when it comes to nose hooking, you know, because they have this lifelike action that you guys can see here. Works really well, and the fish dig it. Next bait, this is my preferred drop shot bait. It's actually the Guggen Baits Drag and Drop. This is also just personal preference. You don't have to get it in the specific color, but when you're fishing a drop shot, you generally go for very natural colors because generally you're throwing it in very clear water. I can literally nose hook this guy in the front. I can put on that bigger hook, as you guys have seen, that's actually set up on my rod, where the hook comes out the top. I can even use this with the EWG hook. You know, you can even mix it up, and you can let me just quickly take one of these out. You know, if you really want to, you can even throw a bigger fluke style bait. You know, this fluke style bait, if you do want that bigger bite, will work really well. Nose hooking it, putting the bait through the actual plastic with the hook coming out the top. You can even put a bigger EWG hook on this if you really feel like it. So the difference is, when it comes to drop shot fishing, it's all up to how you feel like fishing, you know. So for me, it's generally light line, light equipment, and you generally always have more success that way. It's the staple. That's how drop shot has portrayed itself. It's a finesse presentation. Finesse meaning everything is very light, and that's what I do for my drop shot. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this simple tutorial on how I set up my drop shot rigs, from baits, hooks, sinkers, line, rod and reel. Leave comments down below if you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. Leave comments down below if you guys have other ways that you guys rig it. Maybe you guys can put in what type of baits that you guys like for others to see. So hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll check you guys on another episode of Bassing with Sasha.